is 6:31. And we have one commissioner is joining us remotely, so if I could remind commissioners to state their name when they are speaking, that would be great. Are there any announcements from the commissioners? I have just a couple myself. So one thing I did want to announce is the grand jury report. We had talked about having our discussion about it tonight. We're going to push that to September's meeting. And another is it's been requested from our tech people, if people have their cell phones on, if you could turn them off, as it disrupts the Wi-Fi. We're trying to do this remote attendance by Commissioner McKenzie. We good? And one more announcement is the Lantern Group, which was at item 9.5, is being moved up under item number 4. So we'll be taking them out of order. Are there any public appearances by members of the public who want to speak with the... I'm sorry, I'm being signaled.
Just a brief announcement. The Library Foundation is doing a fundraiser this Thursday at the Rialto. The Library Foundation, to see Jaws.
Yes, it should be very fun.
Cinema? Okay. Chocolate and cinema.
Yes.
Thank you.
So at this time, if members of the public wish to address the Commission regarding items that are not on the agenda, please step forward and request recognition.
Hi, Tom Popenook, Sonoma County Library. Since the last week, when you all created the tax measure going forward, we have, as a campaign committee, we now have a kickoff date for our first strategy planning meeting. It's going to be, I just turned off my phone. August 9th, thank you, at 6 p.m. at 704 Bennett Valley Road, and it's our campaign kickoff. And we'll be looking for people to attend that want to participate, and for their ideas, and for how they, how we can make this an effort, a winning effort for our community, for our library, and for all of us. And I'm sure it'll be well attended, and it'll be the first of several events. We also have an event planned in September where we'll be having a fundraiser. So that's another thing that we'll be discussing there, is how people can participate. And so just wanted to announce that that's going to be at 6 p.m. at 704 Bennett Valley Road. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any other members of the public? Come on down.
Hi, my name is David Dodd. I'm not exactly a member of the public. However, I am a library staff member, and I seem to be self-appointed in the role of honoring people who have recently passed away. And so today I'm here to talk about Ruth Gordon, briefly, who passed away this last weekend, actually on Monday the 18th. She was a teacher, a librarian, a writer, and a fierce supporter of civil liberties. And she died at home in Cloverdale on Monday, July 18th, attended by her wife, Vicki McMaurug, and dear friend Linda Perkins, who I also know. Ruth was a strong advocate of library services to children in schools and in the community, and was a valued colleague and mentor to librarians throughout the United States. She was born in May of 1933 in Chicago, the daughter of Samuel and Charlotte Gordon and the sister to Robert Gordon. Her family moved to Forest Hills, Queens, New York, where she attended grammar school. As a teenager, Ruth's most vivid memory was a journalism assignment in high school where she was asked to interview someone. Always reaching for the spectacular, she made the arrangements and was graciously awarded an interview with Eleanor Roosevelt. Pretty good. She received her BA from Tufts in 1954, her master's from Brown in 1961, her master's of library science from the University of California, Berkeley, 1967, and her PhD from Berkeley, 1977. Her research culminated in her thesis, Paul Elder, Bookseller, Publisher, A Bay Area Reflection. She was very proud of her academic success. Her teaching career spanned from the Portola Valley School District, where her future wife was the sister of one of her students, and she taught her most famous pupil, Nobel laureate Roger Kornberg, how to diagram sentences, which no doubt led to his success in chemistry. She loved to speak Italian and would share phrases and thoughts with friends throughout her life. Returning to California, Ruth pursued her graduate studies at Cal, while she served as a lecturer and director of practicum at the University of San Francisco. During this time, she was a National Defense Education Act scholar. Her library career brought her to rural areas of Northern California, where she served as director of school libraries for the Lassen County Office of Education, the director of libraries for the Cloverdale Unified School District, and librarian at Kenilworth Junior High School in Petaluma. She served as a consultant for several library projects and is the managing editor of Critical Reviewing Unlimited. She was concerned about each child with whom she worked. She knew that reading and libraries could be a place of refuge for those whose lives were chaotic and a gateway to the wider world for those whose geography or circumstances were limited. She had high standards, both for herself and for her colleagues. She would not be silent if she felt that library services were not fully supported. She held numerous positions within the American Library Association and served as a counselor from 1991 to 1995. She served on the board of directors for the Association for Library Services to Children from 1986 to 89, chair of the Notable Children's Books Committee, the John Newbery Award Committee, and is president of the Association of Children's Librarians of Northern California. Her professional work and her association work were marked by her persistent advocacy for quality services for children. She was a strong proponent of the maxim to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. And her comments, both at the microphone and in print, reflected this drive. I'll leave it there. There's more to know. She has several books in our library system. I brought one to show you. It's called Feathers. It's a Middle European folktale that she retold beautifully, and it's about how concerned citizens raise funds for important institutions in their community. It might be worth a read. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Daphne Matthews, and I'm a library specialist for the Sonoma Valley Library. In April, I started my 25th year at that library.
Thank you. Lovely.
Yeah, so I want to thank the commissioners so much for the years of commitment. It's been wonderful. It's a great process to learn, and I love the library. And it's a small community in Sonoma, and so I'm rather well known. And so I just want to bring up some of the concerns that we have. What's really moving forward is that we have the possibility of having Mondays again because of the measure, which is very exciting for people and what a lot of people want. But I also want to really point out that we had to cut back with lower staff, the bottom part of the staff that kind of held everything up when that happened a few years, 4 years ago. So people often come to me and say, is your job okay? Are you still going to be here? Are those, the staff going to be able to stay? And I feel like I can say yes, but I just want to present that to you, that the community cares not just about the library hours, but the library staff and the people that have those jobs. So I just wanted to be able to say that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other members of the public want to come forward? All right, seeing none. Oh, wait.
Oh, hi. I just wanted to follow up a little bit on what you said about staffing. So you all know back in 2011 when the Monday hours were cut and all public staff were moved to Tuesday through Saturday hours, that was in response to the decline in property tax revenue from the crash. So property tax revenue is up. The economy is booming in Sonoma County. Not only in Sonoma County, but in the entire North Coast region of the United States. The economy is booming. My question for you is, during the decline, when library hours were cut, staff positions were also cut. Many people were encouraged to retire early, and some of their positions were never filled. There are unfilled positions in many Sonoma County libraries, and many libraries are understaffed. There's a children's librarian position vacant, a young adult librarian position vacant. Visitors to the library, the numbers have gone up. Circulation has gone up. Our services have gone up. A Roseland Library has been open. We're offering ebooks and audiobooks and Hoopla. We have a great strategic plan for offering even more services to all of the communities in Sonoma County. And my question is, how will that be done without increasing more staff? I'm curious to know what your plan is should a tax measure pass and bring in more revenue. How will we open the libraries on more hours given the limited staff that we have? I know in the past, on more than one occasion, you've asked, is it possible to open more hours without increasing staff or budget? And I think the answer was no. So I'm just asking you what the plan might be should a tax measure pass, or even if it shouldn't pass, to staff the libraries going forward in order to offer the best customer service possible to all of our Sonoma County residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the commission? Okay. I believe there is a plan, but I don't have the details in front of me. So any other members of the public would like to address the commission? All right. At this time, we're going to agenda item number 4, which is, generally speaking, an opportunity for library advisory boards and friends of the library to come forward. And we are going to hear a presentation from the Lantern Group this evening.
My name is Clark Mitchell, and acting chairperson of the Lantern Group, whose mission is simply to build a new library for the city of Sebastopol. And as a partner with the city of Sebastopol, thank you, Brad, as well as with the Sonoma County Library System, working the three groups together. We are a board of 6 people who, like you all, just love libraries and committed to it, and which includes Helena Whistler, whose home library is Sebastopol, as you know, Lena Chen, a retired library architect from the city of San Francisco, Gail Cooper, a retired CPA, Ellen Stillman and Nita Lyles, 2 retired school teachers, Matthew Rose, the manager of Sebastopol Library, and myself, a Sebastopol businessman. We also have several advisory board members who help us with technological and legal questions. Some of the things that we've accomplished is we've had a website built, lanternlibrary.org. We've obtained a 501c3 status so we can have tax-free donations. We've organized the community meetings to find out what people want from the library and where the best location for the new library would be. We reached a consensus at the site meeting that the current location is the best. The City Council of Sebastopol voted to support this project of a new library and its current site. We wrote an assessment of our current library, which compared Sebastopol Library with other libraries and showed how Sebastopol is lacking in size, collection, and service areas. We have submitted various grant applications to nonprofits, and the City of Sebastopol has provided us with the majority of the $15,000 that we have raised. This money is paid for the website and for library consultants to prepare a plan to get the library built. This multi-phase plan prioritizes the actions required to build this library. The library consultants' research included several meetings, and one in which they met with the library administration, represented by Kiyo Okazaki and Brett Lear, and we really appreciate your coming to that. And just on an aside, by chance, Brett knew the lead library consultant, Anne Marie Boyer, he knew professionally when she was the director of the Sacramento Libraries, very well-qualified consultant. These consultants recommended that we establish a special voting district that includes all Sebastopol Library users, including those outside the city limits. This district will make it so that all the approximately 40,000 people in the Sebastopol Library user area can vote to raise public funds for the library, for sales tax or parcel tax. Our next objective is to have a professional assessment done. We will soon receive our first proposal from library consultants for creating this assessment document. The 2003 Sonoma County Libraries Facilities Master Plan made Sebastopol a priority to improve due to its size, lack of children or teens area. These needs were not met by our remodel 3 years ago, which improved seismic safety of the shelving, improved the interior, and gave us self-checkout. Sebastopol Library has the highest usage in the Sonoma County Library System after Santa Rosa Central. We can see that a permanent Roseland Library and an improved Northwest Santa Rosa Library are priorities. We're opportunistic for possible sites or funding that could speed up the development of this new Sebastopol Library. Lantern is realistically focusing on getting this library built in about 10 years, in close coordination with the Sonoma County Library Administration and schedule of work on libraries. I'm here just to ask you for support for this new library. And thank you very much for your time. And if you had any questions, I hoped would try to answer them. Be glad to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Clark. So we'll move on now to commissioner reports and start down with Commissioner Neff, please.
Commissioner Neff from Windsor. I got reappointed to a 4-year term. That's good. We're doing Legos Saturday, this coming Saturday. Kids come in and play with Legos. That's about it.
All right, Commissioner Foxen.
I've laid rather low this last month, but we'll be attending the lab meeting that's coming up this month. I think it's a week from tomorrow, or 2 weeks from tomorrow. And I've been sitting and working with some of the people in Cloverdale to begin building their support of the citizens group that is being formed to support the measure. And that's about it.
Commissioner Ebright.
I was unable to attend the Santa Rosa Lab this quarter, so I really have nothing to report. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Garcia.
I did attend the lab, and summer reading is up and going and exciting. And I don't know if anyone's going to mention this, but some of the librarians carried the Olympic torch through Sonoma County, and that was really exciting and interesting. And as always, Santa Rosa and all the other libraries are doing exciting, wonderful things on a shoestring. But summer reading is up and going.
Commissioner.
They meet again in September.
Oh, Commissioner Smith.
I was reappointed for a 4-year term last week, and I will be attending the August lab meeting in Rohnert Park, but I have nothing else to report.
All right, and Commissioner McKenzie, do you have a report?
I do. Can you hear me? I'm having a lot of trouble
We can
hearing
hear
all.
you. We hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. I'll be brief. I have a speaking engagement set up to talk to the Roanoke Park Noon Times in September, and through that, I was contacted by Roanoke Park Katati, one of the two Rotary groups, and so I'll be speaking to them on August the 25th. I've asked our branch manager, Nancy Clayban, to be speaking with us, so it'll be a co-presentation for both of those. I took the opportunity to go to the Roanoke Park City Town Hall. I can't remember the date. It was about 2 weeks ago. We had just put the sales tax measure on the ballot, and so I took the opportunity to go down there and talk about our surveys and our hoopla and some other offerings, and then announced that we have this tax measure coming up and hoped that we would see community support for that. And I will be attending the lab meeting. We are going to have our second kind of overlapping Friends and lab meeting in August. Can't remember the date, and I turned my cell phone off. So anyway, that's coming up. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I want to share that I spoke with the Sebastopol City Council last week with the help of Vicky Turbovich, who wowed them about the technology improvements in the library system. I attended the Guerneville Lab for Commissioner Heavenridge, who was unable to attend that, and was very happy to meet. They had invited the two 5th District supervisorial candidates to attend their meeting, and both Noreen Evans and Linda Hopkins are huge library supporters and speak very highly of the library system. And I think they didn't say, but I think they will do what they can to support us moving forward. And there was one more thing, and the Sebastopol Lab meets this Wednesday, so I don't have a current report, but I know that they've been doing outreach locally at the farmers market and the Thursday night shindig down at the Barlow. So I think they've been very active. So that's all I have to report. Now we'll move on to committee and liaison reports. The first is Director Evaluation Commission.
The Director's Evaluation Committee has not met this past month, so I don't have anything to report.
Finance Committee, Commissioner McKenzie, do you have a report?
I do. I have a brief report. The Finance Committee met Monday, June the 18th, regular meeting. All of the commissioners were there, and our staff of Director Lear and CFO Neiman were both there. We only had 2 items. We looked at the monthly financials. They weren't quite complete because everything was trying to be posted before the end of the fiscal year. So we had kind of an interim financial report. And then we spent the rest of the meeting discussing the implementation plan for the possible tax measure. It was a broad-ranging discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the Public Relations Committee, Commissioner Foxen.
Public Relations Committee didn't meet this last month.
Okay, and Revenue Enhancement Committee?
Revenue Enhancement Committee did meet, and it was really kind of a good meeting. And what we ended up doing was discussing, now that we have done all the work and formed some background and got the measure up and moving, we realized that advocacy and supporting this process was really the next step. And after talking with you, the chair, we decided that the REC committee officially would go on a hiatus until after the election, which would free the commissioners up with more spare time that they could use in working towards an advocacy and building the relationships needed to get this measure passed.
All right. Thank you. And now our foundation liaison, Commissioner Garcia.
I went to my first meeting and came away with they are planning a board retreat and looking at facilitators right now. They're also doing a fundraiser on Thursday, chocolate and popcorn and the movie Jaws, and other fundraisers, I believe, a walk through an art farm or something like that. So they're busily doing that. And we'll see them again on Thursday, and we meet again August 17th.
All right, great. And then just to remind commissioners that we are getting new committee assignments that are effective today. And I can do a brief announcement of those committees. So the Director Evaluation Committee will be composed of Hillary Smith, David Ebright, Linda Garcia, and myself. There is an ad hoc protocol committee that is going to remain the same as it has been. It's, kind of got a little bit of work in progress, so we hope to complete some items soon. And that's Hillary Smith, Tim May, Reese Foxen, Paul Grill, and myself. The Finance Committee is now composed of Reese Foxen, Randall Neff, Barbara McKenzie, and me. And then the Public Relations Committee is, at Tim May's suggestion, is going to be segueing into an advocacy committee. So that will be Reese Foxen, Tim May, Paul Heavenridge, Paul Grill, and Linda Garcia. And I think Reese already said the revenue enhancement's going to take a hiatus for a bit, and I think that's it. And one thing that should be noted is we do have a vacancy for the Sonoma Commissioner, and that is in progress, and we believe that we will have an appointment. We will hear about an appointment around the 15th. All right, now to the approval of the minutes. Item 6. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve from our recent meetings, July 11th and July 18th.
So moved.
I second.
Is that for one or both?
For both.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Correspondence and press coverage, item 7. I think that we don't have any here to review, but I think there was one item that you sent out to the commission recently. Yes, okay. So, and there, item 8 is the consent calendar, and we have 3 items on consent calendar. One is 8.1, approval of purchasing policy, 8.2, approval of delegation of authority policy, 8.3, draft 2017 commission meeting schedule. Are there any commissioners who would like to request an item be removed from the consensus calendar? Seeing no requests, those items are agreed to, and we will move forward. Did you want to say something? Okay.
I think I'm up.
All right, so now we're on, okay, yes, you are. Item number 9, discussion items, Director's Report. Director Lear.
Good evening, everybody. Just have a few things to share. The first relates to Kim Popenook's public comment, but the agenda item tonight where we look at the expenditure plan from the ordinance should begin to create some at least high-level clarity around, why we need the revenue and how we would move that additional funding into our budget. So that's coming up with Ken. Some other things related to the ordinance. The argument in favor is the next document that's due to the Registrar of Voters. That's due on August 22nd, so I've already started to work on that. The document will probably look very similar to the expenditure plan in the ordinance, but just give voters a clear idea of what the ordinance is for. I'll share that with Helena once I have a draft. And the other piece of that is getting the 5 signatures on the argument in favor. So if anyone has any brilliant ideas of who we should ask, let me know. But we will want the signatures to represent geographically the whole county, and also, various, I guess, industries and careers, education, and perhaps agriculture, the business community. But that piece, we really want to be thoughtful about. So those are some of the, and then another timeline that's coming up is our letter will be assigned on August 15th. So a lot of people are hoping for Measure L, but we'll know soon what our letter is, and then we can start referring to the ordinance as that certain measure. And then another thing I'm working on around the ordinance is I do think it's important for library management to keep staff informed of the measure and the facts of the measure. So I'm putting forth an FAQ that I hope to get out to staff this week or early next week. And then Ken today asked to be scheduled at all of our locations so that he can explain the finances piece of the tax measure. But we've done a very good job of keeping the public informed of our issue. But now I want to be sure that we loop back and make sure that the staff have the information that they need in order to talk about this with their friends and family. Yes, when was it, Friday? Well, last pay period last week, we implemented phase 2 of the salary adjustments. So now everyone has been brought up over the 2 years as we had budgeted for. So I was very happy to see that done. And then lastly, just a fun thing I'll mention is Catherine Greco and Rano and some other staff did a really nice job of creating this banner that will be on the back of all the county buses this month. So Reese already saw one today. So they'll be on the back of all the county buses throughout the month.
Nice.
Oh, and lastly, some of you know I'll be taking some time off in September, but I plan on taking a vacation from September 3rd through the 24th. That's it for me.
All right, thank you, Director Lear. So on to the management report. Any comments from the commission about the written management report? Okay. Then the monthly financial report, Ken?
As always, is it on?
It looks on.
It is on?
It is.
Okay. Raise it up a little bit. The financials are on page 11, start on page 11. And what you'll see there is as we're moving end of the fiscal year, we look like we're going to have about a $1.6 million surplus that with revenue over expenses. There are two big items that make up that that difference. The first one was there's $700,000 in tax revenue that was higher than we had budgeted for. And then the biggest discrepancy in expenditures were the salary and benefits line item. We spent $800,000 less in that area than we had budgeted for. Most of that was because of it took us a long time to fill some positions, and timing, and we're really working hard on speeding that process up in the library. Salaries and benefits.
Okay. This is Commissioner Garcia. Salary savings and benefits?
Salary and benefits, yes. That makes up the majority of the difference between actual and budget. You'll see at the end of the year there were 4 items there that were over the $25,000 limit, PG&E, the bill from Godby Research for the tracking pole, the Lou Edwards Group, that was the expense for the second mailer, and then a progress billing for the facilities master plan from MK Think. So those were our large items for the month. If there's any questions about those. I do have one other thing to mention in the monthly or the management report. It's on page 28 or 26, I'm sorry. Down in the middle of the page under human resources, it's the paragraph that starts currently. I think we've mentioned this before that we currently participate with the county's risk pool and some of their plans for the medical, dental, and vision insurance. They've informed us that this will be the last year that we're able to do that. So we're currently investigating other consortiums, employer consortiums, and alternate plans to come up with as similar as we can get to our plans that we have right now while being affordable at the same time. So I think that's important not only for the commission to know, but also it's important, obviously, to our employees that we are working on that. So.
I have a quick question about that last item you mentioned. And the reason for that is because we are a new JPA? Is that the reason
Yes. Yes.
We're sort of being severed from the counties? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think you had mentioned something about the county felt that our risk level was higher than they wanted to.
Well, it does raise their rates a bit. But at the same time, the real reason they said is that just for risk management, they wanted all the smaller agencies that aren't specifically county-run agencies out of their risk pool so they could get that done. It happened recently with SMART. They also helped them find plans that originally they put the SMART employees under their plans, and as they grew, then they felt it was time to move them out. So.
Okay.
The librarian 1 or 2, is that the Roseland Library?
Pardon me?
The librarian 1 or 2, is that the Roseland Librarian?
Are you looking at page 27?
27 current recruitments. 1, 2, third one down.
No,
it's not.
That's for materials management. We just made an offer today for that position.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Anything else?
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we are turning to item 9.3, the expenditure plan for Sonoma County Library Maintenance. I'm sorry. I'm a little new at this, sorry. So are there any comments from the public on the previous items? Tom, are you commenting on the previous item or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on what I would call our annual windfall profit, that every year at this point in time, we discover that our revenues were greater than we expected and that we did not hire enough staff to take care of our libraries and our public, and that we once again have $1.6 million of money that could have been spent to take care of our public. And we're doing a really poor job of doing that. This is how we get to a point where we have this reserve fund of, way beyond what any normal business has. And I find it, once again, this time of year, very troubling to come up here and say, how is it possible that when you have a budget of $16 million that it's 10% off? It happens every year. What do? We hire another librarian. It's not a public service librarian, and we have $700,000 something. I don't know exactly what the number is for, staff that is not being hired in a timely manner as we're supposed to be doing according to our contract. This is, got to stop. It's really outrageous, and it's the public that ends up not being served.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? All right. Now to the 9.3 expenditure plan. Oh, I'm sorry. If you may.
Of Ken, is that $1.6 million what we have to exist on between now and December when our next property tax payment is made? Or is there another someplace else?
No, the fund balance is normally what we use to take us that. Now, this $1.6 million will fall into the fund balance. Yes.
Goes into the fund, so it would become part of what's going to make it possible for us to get to December without borrowing money and having to pay more out.
That's correct. We do need some to carry forward.
I just wanted to make sure I understood what was happening. Okay, thank you.
So item 9.3, the expenditure plan.
Yeah, that's mine. Hi. Yep, I'm ready.
So this was just handed out tonight, is that
yes,
correct? And if anybody in the audience does not have a copy of it, there are some copies down here in the front. I think over to the other side there, people need some too.
Okay, so one part of the ordinance that you passed recently was, for the sales tax measure is the expenditure plan. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit at a very high level about just explain some of the items in the expenditure plan, what we hope to do, and then show you at the end the money at a very high level, what we've allocated to each of the three categories. In preparing the expenditure plan, we've had 1.5 to 2 years of community input, whether that was through all the community input from the strategic plan. We've had sent out surveys and received over 4,200 of the surveys back. And then more recently, we've also had results from the polling that we've done. And that's all helped to inform us as we prepared the expenditure plan for the ballot measure. And we also used Lou Edwards, our consultants, and their expertise to help us come up with this expenditure plan. The expenditure plan has three major categories, as you can see there. The first one, supporting library collections, educational programs, and classes for Sonoma County school age and preschool children. That mainly revolves around school age children, which we do a pretty good job of now, but obviously we'd like to do more and enhance that and continue to maintain it. So we'll go on a little bit. I've got some illustrations here to help explain some of the things. As you can see, I think this is the children's collection in Sebastopol, I believe. And what part of this ballot measure money will go for is to enhance the collections for all the children and school-age kids. The next thing is a story time at Petaluma, I believe. And as you can see there, we do a very good job of this already, but we're hoping to enhance the accessibility, meaning increased hours to all the libraries. And we would continue to have more of these and move forward in helping educate the school-age and preschool children of the county. There's also homework help, computer labs that we'd like to have in each of our libraries. This is an example of some that look like middle school or late elementary kids working at a computer lab in a class. So that's another area where we really want to point towards and use some of this money for. The next picture is our current staff, because we couldn't do what we do now without them, and we sure as heck can't move forward without them either. And so it's not only the current staff, but there'll be, if this measure is adopted, that picture will be a lot fuller because there'll be lots of future staff that we'll have to hire to support all this. The next major category is improving access to local libraries, one of the few places left in the community that benefit everyone in maintaining library collections. While the first category was focused more on children, this is focused more on adults and the community as a whole. And this is the big one here, where it's not a great picture, but I tried to grab a picture of some hours. Not necessarily that these are the hours that would be open, but it's an example of more hours. That's a big part of what this expenditure plan does. It increases accessibility, not only in hours, but in events, classes, collections, technology for the citizens of Sonoma County. So the next one is just a picture of the collection again, not the children's collection, but for everybody else, the adults and teens and things like that. So we want to make sure that we enhance that, not only print, but digital collections that we plan to put in place. Another part of this is reaching out to the community. So making partnerships, we do a pretty good job of that now, but we want to do a lot more of it. This is, for instance, a study group from the Santa Rosa Junior College at our Windsor branch. And we really would like to have this happen all over our system, all nights of the week and on weekends. And right now we're just limited in that. So that's another thing. And then we want to reach out to underserved communities. There's quite a bit of out-county places, especially out west, that we don't serve real well, and we want to continue to reach out to those places like we did at Roseland. And this is a picture of a class going on at the Roseland branch that's really we're proud of. And here again, this, opening more hours, increasing services, increasing programs and events, we won't be able to do it without more staff, and that runs throughout this expenditure plan. Not only the increased accessibility, but staffing runs throughout the whole plan. The third one is maintaining aging library facilities, many of which are over 40 years old, to make them safe, clean, and welcoming. I think we talked quite a bit about this as we go through. We've got the facilities master plan going on right now. That'll be a great guide for us when we're working through this and upgrading facilities and changing facilities. And here's an example of the new floor plan out at Cloverdale that we will be getting done in the next few months. It's their refresh that we're going to be doing. And it's just another example of what we'll be moving forward with. And then I reached out and got some different pictures of libraries. We want welcoming, safe places where people can meet. And here's an example of a space with lots of windows so people can see nature as we go by. There's another example here of, I've heard a lot of people talk about having study rooms in the libraries, in the buildings. This is an example of study rooms in the middle of a library that still maintain the sight lines because of the glass walls and stuff like that. So, and then the other thing we really want to concentrate on is technology and computer labs. And here's an example of a computer lab that we may or may not put in. We'll put in a computer lab, but it may be stocked with laptops instead of computers that we see here. So there's lots of different things we can do. And this is a repeat again, but can't say enough. We need staff to do all these things. And we're going to have to ramp it up and ramp it up quick if this thing passes. And it'll be fun, and we'll get it done. So And then here's the expenditure plan with some very general numbers attached to each of the main categories. And as you can see, the collections and events for school age and preschool children and the educational programs, it would be about $2 million a year that we're projecting to spend in that area. We do a lot of that now. It's just building it up more. The improving access to the local libraries. That's the big one where most of we put $5 million there, and that's increasing the hours and staffing and, reaching out to underserved communities, starting things for people with disability and seniors. We don't do a whole lot of that, so that'll probably be coming up from the ground up. And then we've tagged $3 million to maintaining the library facilities on an annual basis. That's not only maintaining, that's upgrading all of our buildings on a regular basis. So yes, that gives you a brief overview of the categories and where we think the money would go. And I don't know if you have any questions, comments.
David?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Ebright.
Right. This seems that it's very much aligned with our strategic plan,
yes,
which is
definitely
always nice to see.
Right.
We have a roadmap, and it's nice that we're following it. And I also think it's important to remember that this is a what-if scenario.
Correct.
And that without the additional funding, we would have a very different what-if scenario.
Right.
And I think that we've done a good job, particularly staff, of managing and providing services given our current funding situation. And I'm very proud of the people who work at the library for making that happen and for serving the public as best as we can given what we have. But this expenditure plan, I think, goes a long ways towards also reassuring the public. And I will also say that all of this money is controlled by, governed by, only for use by the libraries in Sonoma County and no other governmental entities.
Right. Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes, thank you, Ken. So you mentioned staffing kind of falling under the umbrella of improved access. Do you also see it falling under the umbrella of supporting school-age children?
Yes.
Are you separating them out?
No, it's throughout all this. Yes, there's definitely staffing.
I know we have vacant positions. Do we have any kind of ballpark idea of how many more staff we need to hire to facilitate this expansion of hours and programs?
That's what we'll be looking at in detail as the budget cycle, and the budget cycle will start mid-November.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Garcia?
And also, since we're having trouble hiring right now, if this goes through, I suppose there's a plan to engage HR or to to make that a little faster?
Yes, definitely. We're making things faster right now without the additional revenue, but definitely we're going to have to speed everything up, and it'll be a task that we'll get done. So.
Right. Thank you, Ken.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from commissioners? Thank you, Ken. And
thank you.
Any comments from the public? Okay. Moving on to the branch manager presentation, item 9.4, we have Matthew Rose from Sebastopol. It's a Sebastopol night.
Good evening. I'm assuming the arrow moves the slide. My name is Matthew Rose. I work at the Sebastopol Regional Library. And the Commission has asked for a report on what we do at the Sebastopol Library. an overview of the amazing work that we do there. The resources that we have are amazing and varied. We'll start with some stats about the Sebastopol Regional Library, talk about the people who provide those resources and the extraordinary value to our community, highlight some of the services that we provide to our community in building our community, as well as the support that we do for our educational development and attainment of our children in Sebastopol, and address some of the ways that we care for the emotional aspects of our citizens. Here are the stats. The Sebastopol Library holds 60,000 volumes in its shelves. We circulate 337,000 items per year, and that is the second highest in Sonoma County Library when you account for square footage. We have a 5.7 turnover rate. For every book that's on our shelf, it gets checked out 5.7 times per year, and that is the highest in Sonoma County Library System. We have patrons picking up holds from other libraries in the amount of 6,000 per month, as well as our books get sent out to other libraries, 11,000 of them every month for pickup at other locations. We have 17,000 threshold crossings. We get 17,000 visitors every month in the library, and that's the highest, second highest when accounted for square footage. We provide 30 active staff-involved library programs, events, classes, etc. at our branch per month, and that's the highest per FTE in the system. In addition to that, we have 10 passive programs, which are low to no staff involvement programs throughout our library at any given time. We were the third highest library in answering reference questions, and when you scale that to FTE, that is the most questions answered per staff at our branch. Our building is 10,000 square feet, and we have 13 internet stations. The force that drives all of that activity and the most important asset of the Sonoma County Library is our frontline staff. They deliver outstanding services for our library patrons. The Sebastopol Library team makes us a model library and sets the standard for excellent customer service because they create a welcoming space. They know their community and its needs, and they are experts at driving our core services. They are also the drivers of innovation and enhance our other library services. My role on this team is, and any manager's role really, is to provide support and to empower the staff to lead the customer service operations. Every member of our team aids in finding solutions to problems, adding new value to existing services, or has a hand in developing and creating new services. For our staff, this isn't just a job where we check in and check out. Their knowledge and abilities create experiences that our patrons can't experience anywhere else in our community. We also don't take staff photos regularly, so you might notice that one staff member in this picture has moved on to the Windsor Library, and Michelle Santamaria is not represented. Apologies to Michelle. We build a strong community, and that's from our library mission. We're responsive to community suggestions and needs, and we incorporate feedback into our programs and services. The library and the community working together are what designs and builds the Sebastopol Library Services. We engage our community with interactive passive programs that create opportunities for social engagement, such as offering passive programs like the chessboard, checkers board, having puzzles in our library for adults. Soon we'll be having adult coloring sessions. We have a chalkboard table in our teen area, and the chalkboard table is a great place for teens to share thoughts and respond to each other. After a recent event in Dallas of police shootings, we had a discussion board put up in our lobby where patrons shared their thoughts about the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as how to respond to social issues in our community. And we had a good 70 people participating, or writing and sharing ideas of how to grow as a society and how to learn from each other. Another way that we build a strong community is that we have a staff goal, which is to know everyone's name. And our service area is only 40,000 people, and we're getting close. At every staff meeting, we highlight a soft skill for our staff. We share ideas together about what it means to work in a library and how it's different from working at a convenience store, where we greet people and share ideas of what it's like for the patron when they're entering the door, how to provide a more welcoming space, making sure that we are open to discussions and have feedback from our community. Another way we have a strong community, building a strong community at the library, is we have a 60-plus strong network of volunteers. We provide a great place for people to come and visit with friends while giving back to the community. And that volunteer network is a great way for us to enhance our services to our community. We host discussion groups, we have a microscope display, we have book talks, we coordinate very strongly with our local school librarians. We do outreach and outreach and outreach. We participate in local communities like our Sebastopol Downtown Association, the Apple Blossom Festival, the Farmers Markets, Center for the Arts, Community Action Partnership, our Great and Day Labor Center. And since Michelle Santamaria has joined our team, we have seen a lot more Latino community use in our library. Do we need to answer that comment? Okay, thank you. We provide for the educational resources of Sebastopol through impactful early literacy classes, also known as story times. We offer bilingual early literacy classes. We, in the spring, had a great gardening and healthy eating class and a workshop for kids where they took over part of our landscaping and did a fantastic job growing vegetables. We have build clubs that teach kids about architecture and engineering. We have early literacy passive learning stations, kids practicing learning their name, kids practicing writing their name, kids practicing looking at and exploring and making observations and learning through interactions at the library. We're hosting book discussion groups at our local high school. If the teens have trouble getting to the library, let's take the librarians to them. And these are going to be led by library staff. We've also had the same concept with our story times. If kids can't drive themselves over, preschoolers can't drive themselves over, let's have the librarian go to them, and we'll have story times at local preschools. And we've also offered college preparation classes. And we care for our people in our community. I mentioned a Black Lives Matter discussion, taking and having more discussions in our library about headlines and matters of social justice in our libraries. We have hosted suicide prevention workshops. We've cared for the kids in our community by participating in the Lunch at the Library program. We honor the real and valuable relationships we have with our patrons and our friends. The Sebastopol Library is a place of respite, a place of refuge, and a place of relaxation and learning. We take the time to learn people's names, anticipate their needs, and we cater services that matter to the people of Sebastopol. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Matthew. This is Linda Garcia. You probably said this. How old is your library?
The first library in Sebastopol is 1916.
1960?
1916. The building itself is 1976.
Wow. Okay. And 40,000? I can't remember 40, but thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
This is Commissioner Ebright. Matthew, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. Whenever we hear from branch managers, there's always something wonderful going on at the libraries, and it's really nice to see what's happening out in Sebastopol. I'll just briefly say that though I'm a Santa Rosa resident, I have a granddaughter who is a Sebastopol resident, and granddaughter and grandmother regularly during the school year, that's their first stop after being picked up from school. And there's an age difference there of 55 years between grandma and granddaughter, and there's always something at the library for both of them, either individually, and there's many things there for them to share. So thank you, and thank you to all the staff for doing a great job out in Sebastopol.
Thank you.
Matthew, thank you so much. I think I even learned some stuff about what you do up there. I just know that every time I go there, it's super busy and active, and it's fabulous. It's a fabulous library branch.
Thank you.
Thanks. So, Commissioner McKenzie, are you still with us? Okay, well, I just can't see if she wants to say something. Or...
Oh, yeah, I'm still here we're kind of fiddling around with this video conferencing, but I'm still here on audio.
Okay, if you want to contribute anything, just speak up, okay, because I can't see you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, I think then that we'll move on to... There are no action items by motion or by resolution. We have a lab appointment. Item 12.
So moved on the lab appointment for Joanne Saunders to Sonoma County Lab.
To Sonoma Library Advisory Board?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I just have one brief comment, and that is, like I said, comments tonight, that we quite often wrap up a lot of our meetings with Library Advisory Board appointments, and we do move through them fairly quickly, but I don't want anyone to get the impression that we don't think they're important, because our Library Advisory Boards are very important, and we're grateful that we have names here before us to vote on.
Yes, I second that. I felt like we did a little more rush last time, but I think it's important to name the people and to where they're being appointed. So thank you for that, David, and thanks for the motion, Commissioner Garcia. Any public comments at this time? Okay, so item 13 is items to include in commission notes.
The branch manager presentation from Sebastopol, I would think, and also the expenditure plan for Sonoma County Library maintenance and restoration. Would those be included?
Yes, I think those are good choices.
And the lantern presentation.
And the lantern presentation?
And even though the event will have gone by, we might just enter something that says that the Foundation's Chocolate and Cinema was a fabulous success.
Okay.
And that they're showing the movie Jaws, I think, is appropriate, because if you haven't been to this event, the chocolate there is just scrumptious, and there's a lot of jaw action going on. So I highly recommend that.
Okay. All right. And I guess agenda items for item 14, agenda items for the next commission meeting, we'll be talking about the grand jury report. Any other items? I know we'll come up with something, but anything off that commissioners are okay?
One thing I'd recommend is, since this has come up from the public a couple of times, I'd like, I think it'd be a good idea to have Ken present to the commission about, how he works with the assessor to get an idea of how much revenue will be generated in the year, and then what knowledge he has as that number changes over the course of a year. But it's not as if, we have a set budget at the beginning of the year, and that's our allocation. So there's specific points during the year where we may know more, but I think it would be good for Ken to talk us through that so we better understand.
All right, so will that be our special library report next time, or is there another one planned?
We could make it the library report.
All right, and then will we have another branch manager presentation from a different? Every 3 months. Every 3 months. Okay, thank you, Kia. It was lovely.
I have a request, and that can either be presented by Brett or our council, that as we enter the campaign season, the differentiation and the very bright line between the use of public funds to run a library and individual private funds and to run a campaign, and the bright line between those two things.
Okay. So our council to come and talk about that fine line. So she did. Okay. So and thank you for bringing that up, because I wanted to recommend to the commissioners to please be sure to read the handout that Linda Schiltgen gave to us last meeting, which goes into detail about what is appropriate and not appropriate for commissioners specifically, but employees to not do, or that is okay to do during a campaign. But I think that's a good idea to go over that. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So you won't be here at our next meeting. Is that correct? Okay. All right. All right. Our next meeting will be Monday, September 12th at 6:30 p.m. here in the Santa Rosa City Council chambers. And now we will adjourn at 7:43 p.m. Thank you, everybody.